accordingly, the board is back in public session. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, approval of the April 21st meeting minutes and approval to dispose of Captain Aham's boat.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and second, items for discussion. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0, thank you very much. Discussion items, oh, this is gonna be a good one, the CIP budget, which I haven't seen, have you?
Right, no, due to several different priorities and the inability to get everyone together to go over that, we don't have the CIP. Still will stay on the schedule. The board had asked for a maintenance plan to be able to specify all of the individual expenses. Having, you know, 2 vacancies that we tried to fill and the utility manager, we just ran out of time getting everybody together to put that together.
And when will you have it together, please?
Well,
Next meeting?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. We've tried to schedule for Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Well, this is the 19th, if I recall correctly.
Correct.
And on June the 2nd, we're scheduled to adopt the high-level budget.
Right. And this shouldn't impact it, because what you're putting into the CIP plan won't be affected. You've got a certain percentage there. And the key in adopting your high-level budget is to be able to make certain that you're going to put enough in to be at the highest maximum of assessment you're going to be. And if it's going to stay stable, then, you know, that still is the highest. But it's just, do you have to send out notices to the residents or not?
Well, that's pretty obvious that we're gonna have to send out notices, is it not? If we're putting in money for the P&I for a loan?
Yes.
Oh,
Is
and
it?
Steve said he was gonna be watching this.
Yes.
Steve Bloom is our treasurer.
He sent me his number. You want to give him a call?
No, I don't. I just want you to make sure that he knows that the number is now 6 million instead of 5.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Next item is the Pistoia plan and plat approval. And I know that there are a whole bunch of people who are gonna talk about that. David, please come up to the podium and give us a real quick run-through of what it is that you have up your proverbial sleeve.
Yes.
Did you want to bring it? Good afternoon, Dave Caldwell, WCI for the record. Happy to be here. This is a continuation of the discussion of the Pistoia at Pelican Reserve plan approval and plat approval. At the April 7th meeting, there were some questions raised by supervisors. One by Mr. Neubauer. He wanted to see some details on the perimeter fencing or wall or buffer that the community might have for the Pelican Preserve community. I included in my cover letter to you what detail we have to date for your consideration or you know, whatever you want to do as to looking at it. And then Rod Sr. also raised a question about the eastern side of the property butting the Gateway community. I didn't address Mr. Sr.'s question, but what I have done since that meeting, WCI, a group of us met with Ed Tinkle and the club management at the Gateway Golf and Country Club last week, went over various issues of common interest, where Gateway Greens abuts our new community of Arborwood Preserve, as well as that proposed road that the county may have build at some point to connect to Gateway Boulevard from Plantation. Gardens, Plantation Gardens Extension. So we shared with them what we did in those areas. I think they're comfortable with what we have in mind and what may, in fact, happen there if ever. But anyway, I think we've addressed the questions that were raised by the board at that meeting, and I'm here to answer any questions, and I have a complement of other consultants here to delve into other issues if it gets that far.
All right, well, let's start with Mr. Newbauer, since he made questions at the April meeting that if you like to.
I'd just like David and his eloquence to summarize this cover letter. Neil, he'll take care of it. Dave would be great. Come on. So the summary of what's going to be for holding the barrier type for Pelican Reserve will be, and when will it be installed? At the first house? At the last house?
Well, let me use a graphic.
Anytime.
This is Prado. It's in the northern part, and then this area over here is Pistoia.
Okay.
The first area we are developing in is Prado, so the northern part.
Okay.
As we build our land improvements in this area, and they're out there right now, putting in underground facilities, digging lakes, what have you.
Right.
Home construction will start in a few months out there. As we complete infrastructure, and it's not like we start putting in landscaping today because they're still tearing stuff up with heavy equipment for underground and building lakes and whatever. But as we finish up the grading along the perimeter boundary, that is when we start to build the berms, we start to put in the irrigation systems, we start to put in, as those things are fine graded, then the landscaping will follow and the fencing.
Okay.
So it's done as we finish up these areas, not lot by lot, but probably thousands of feet at a time.
So, for example, like Arborwood is doing currently on Commerce Lakes Drive. A sense of relativity there, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? For example, driving over here today, I passed by it, and right now there's the berm that's there, and the pillars are there for
Oh, in
the.
Arborwood?
Yeah.
Okay, you changed subject, John.
Well,
Okay.
well, I'm segueing a little bit, but you'll keep up, I'm sure. Will it be similar to that? Style, construction, et cetera?
Well, what we're planning, similar maybe, but again, I don't wanna say it's not identical, it's a different landscape, a different wall and.
I'm just
and
talking about the
fencing.
berm and the wall.
But the process of when it starts to get built is going in as we do the site infrastructure. But landscaping, fencing is at the tail end of the infrastructure, homes are starting to go up, come out of the ground.
Okay, so a guesstimate of when that berm is going to start being constructed would be?
Well, we're in here right now, as I said.
Okay, so the berm, in fact, if I go over there,
No,
I'll
you
say.
won't find it.
That's why I asked you, David, when will I find the berm? Give me a ballpark idea.
This is probably 6 to 8 months worth of construction.
Okay.
So possibly by year end, those kind of things, those kind of details are starting to go in place.
Okay.
The
Okay.
point being, as homes are being constructed and closed, that berm and landscaping behind the home where it's located will have been completed. It's not the kind of thing where the homeowner is sitting there for the next 2.5 years waiting for something to happen.
Okay, just wanted to have that on public record.
So as we move through the construction phases of Prado and then into Pistoia, Pistoia will be the last subdivision, and that's the one we're actually trying to consider today. That will be the last piece to be done in construction.
And Pistoia is more internal than external. Would that be a relatively accurate statement?
Internal, external. Well, there aren't that, most of the
public's point of view, since I'm looking and they can't see, along Gateway Boulevard, or what would be adjacent to that line?
The only part that's along Gateway Boulevard is right down here.
Right there, okay. Okay, all right. And
This part is up against FP&L, which, you know, sort of wilderness. The northern part is up against the old abandoned landfill.
okay. I got it.
Are you good?
I'm good.
I'd like to hear from Danny Nelson. Danny, please. I know you have spent more than a little bit of time on this area issue, et cetera, et cetera. Can you just tell us in 25 words or less that you're all happy with this and that we should approve it, or something else?
I am happy. Please approve it.
Thank you very much. Motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
It's gutsy.
Any further conversation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you've got
Thank
eight,
you.
you've got 18 more words left.
Next thing I have on my agenda says contract spreadsheet and soccer renewal. From Diane, but I'll bet it's really from April. Am I right?
Yes,
Would you like to help me a little bit here, please?
sure. We tried to do it a little differently this time. We usually sit and review the contract spreadsheet, and so we wanted to try to give you a topside summary so you could actually see the work that we've done and then just kind of summarize for you the couple of issues that we have, instead of just giving you the spreadsheet without any summarization. So number one is just to make you aware that the ADT contract is going to be renewed, and there's one change in the scope of service, and that's an upgrade of some technology. And on number two, we do need direction. The Gateway Soccer Association contract is up on June 30th, and I guess that's their summer contract, and I think how we normally do this is a summer and a fall contract. So I just wanted to confirm, based on the resolution that we adopted a couple of months ago, that we were going to proceed with the renewal of the fall contract.
That is so.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it.
Thank you very much.
That was easy.
No, sorry.
I said that was easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here. Mr. Attorney, you've got one in here.
Yeah, it's just brief. This is as part of the retention of bond counsel to assist in review, analysis, and preparation of documents associated with utilizing the remaining funds from the Pelican Reserve Bond Fund to do an amended engineer's report and to bring back whatever resolutions we need to prepare to be able to utilize funds for additional or different projects.
Thank you very much. The blended discount rate of $425 an hour, you find that appropriate?
Yes, it's for bond counsel, and this firm who's very familiar with the district.
Well, I am certainly delighted to have the signature of a partner.
I saw that. I was very happy when I saw that, yes.
And has it been 100% decided that all of these costs are gonna be charged through the construction fund?
I believe so, Cal. Danny,
sorry.
I think we've agreed that all the funds associated with the review and the amended engineer's report will all come out of the bond proceeds.
Yes, that's correct.
Motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further conversation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, two more items, if I may, that aren't on here. One, I
Go
think
ahead.
it's a follow-up to Ms. Gill's question, I guess, and it's more of a Tyler question, with regards to the issue about the bank stabilization system that was proposed in the SRF plan. The question was, will we have any problems with Lee County? As I heard Tyler mention, we've tried to communicate with Lee County to sort of be proactive with regards to having them understand what we have done and what we plan on doing. They've not been responsive, as I understand it from talking with Tyler. And I did not go back and look at the documents, but if I recall correctly, when we had this issue before, there was a PUD for Gateway that gives, in my opinion, greater flexibility as to hardening. I think we can even do seawalls in some areas, if I'm not mistaken. But,
Yeah, for the record, Tyler Wainwright with Tetra Tech. Everything Tony just said is accurate. We have tried to reach out to the county and so far have been unsuccessful in getting a response from them.
and again, we had the prior email from a year and a half or so ago that said what you're doing is okay. We had the odd email, and that Tyler's been trying to follow up on for the last couple months.
Have you sent them a letter so we have something memorialized for the record that they, if they try and come back and change their mind on us later on, we can say, hey, we're beyond that?
We have not sent them a letter. We've sent them multiple emails, which we have records of, but I haven't sent them a hard copy letter. No,
Yeah,
sir.
and if I recall, I replied back, and I basically asked him what the nature of the issue was. I haven't gone back to retrieve that email from, I think, back in December.
That is also correct.
And I did not receive a response or reply. So-
Is it your professional opinion that we may proceed without?
I would say yes.
Further ado, thank you
Yes.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the other issue?
Lastly, on Hampton Park, WCI is moving forward. We had some additional documents from WCI. I think I sent you sort of an update of what they were doing. And hopefully we'll bring that to the board in the next 2 meetings or so. About that.
Do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Engineer, do you have anything else?
I've got nothing else.
That's great. Mr. Manager?
Just an update, we've narrowed our search for the utility manager down to 3 candidates. All 3 are from Florida, and we'll be doing interviews next Thursday.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
No, sir.
Supervisor comments, Mr. Newbauer?
Nope.
Pam?
No, thank you.
Margaret?
Something, but I don't remember what it was now, so.
Pass that down.
So let me know. Oh, I do remember what it was, I'm sorry. We didn't do the CIP budget today, but I remember in that CIP budget was monies for lake bank restoration. Is that to be eliminated, or is that to be used for the interest on the fund? Or are we still planning on using that to reinforce our lake bank?
I believe we're pulling it in for the P&I of the service of the debt, a portion of it.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
when
it
he was
was a
talking about-
discussion item in one of the CIP meetings that we've had,
Okay, all right, so you'll be bringing that up
yes.
in June?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, so I handed out just a four-sheet introduction to something that April and I have been talking about, and I'd like to just let you kind of read over it. And the purpose is, it's called Vision 2020, and basically it's a 3-year plan that April and I have been talking about to try to get us back to a position where we have what I would consider operational effectiveness. And what it's going to do, it's going to give us a platform or a project initiative where April can work with the board, the staff, take recommendations from the Joe DeServo report, recommendations by Severn Trent. But really what it does is it gives us a platform that we can start looking forward. The 3-year plan, it's a 3-phased approach, which basically means it's the 3-year implementation. And the whole purpose is to create efficiencies through how we do business, is to make sure that we've got a good operating model to build off of. And the pathways to that, and the purpose for me handing out today is just so I can socialize it with you. April and I have had discussions. We'd like to bring it back to the board to put it more in a formalized process. But there's some things that we need to be looking at over the next 3 years in order to get us to a point. A lot of the stuff April's already doing. You know, we need to make sure that we've got defined district purpose and goals. We got to transform the current business model. We need to make sure we've got a clear and a clear vision and execution strategy. And that kind of ties in with the name Vision 2020. It's 3 years. We want to have it completed by 2020. Also, when you think about having 2020 vision, you're clear, your direction is not blurry. So you can read through the path. We want to look at revising the organizational structure with which we've had conversations on, and we need to change our culture here from the top down. We need to make sure that our staff enjoys working here, our board operates in a manner with respect, and from a resident's perspective, everything we do, we feel like we just need to make some changes. The second page is the operating model. It gives you kind of a guideline. Again, April will take this. She'll look at how we do business today and come up with a true structure of how we should operate. And again, the path is to get us to operational effectiveness. So you can look through the strategy. You've got to have a strategy, a plan in place. Your operating model represents all the components that make up how we do business: structure, process, governance, planning, capabilities, and then you got to have an execution strategy. The next is really just what happens in 3 years. So the first 6 to 12 months, you continue doing what we do well. You implement quick fixes. So the first 6 or 12 months, there's things that April identify or will identify as things that we should be doing, that we should be changing. We need to stop doing things that don't add value to the district.
Say that last again.
We need to stop doing things that don't add value. Begin developing a foundation for more complex changes. The second year program is really continue to do what we're doing well, implement updated policies, procedures, guidelines. This is something that April has called out, that we need to look at our guidelines, our procedures, make sure for every functional area, we should make sure that we've got governance, controls in place, regular maintenance routines, everything down to HR procedures, and there's a plethora of these things, but that's what we would look for operations manager to spearhead, along with contributions from the staff and through the board. And then really year 3 is where you're looking at those long-term items. Do we need to change how we do our budgeting? Should we go to a zero balance budget? Are there long-term fixes that we should be looking at? And then the last page is something I've used for years. It's basically just a change management chart. And I think this is important because if you look at, one's a burning building and the other one is not. And there's a platform on top and there's people in different positions. We have to consider that within the board, within our staff, within residents, and our extended vendors and staff. People have different proponents for change. We've got some that are walking on the platform that says, I'm ready for change. You've got those that you're pushing across. But ultimately, we have to change the way that we do business as a district. It's not necessarily a burning house, so to speak. There are things that I think we do really well as a district, but there's definitely some gaps and things that we need to do differently. And our lakes is a great example. If we have maintenance routines, regular fixed routines in place, we're not spending $21 million over the next 3 or 4 years. And that goes really to everything that we do. So what I want the board to consider is just look through this document. Really, it's just a platform for us to have organized change that will work with everyone that's involved. And it would give April an avenue each week or each board meeting to come on and say, where are we at in our Vision 2020? How closer are we to operational effectiveness? And that's total accountability from end to end. Are we going to change the way that we do things here in order to make us more effective? So think about it. I'd love to bring it back as an agenda item and for us to be tracking it. What is our path to Vision 2020 and where are we at? So.
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Thank you.
If nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm sorry.
Tell everybody's ready to go, so I'm going to rush. Let me get through it. Should have supervisor comments at the beginning.
They were a little black.
Oh, I guess.
Really?
You may have been.